In the labyrinth of missing persons statistics lies a chilling truth. Every year, 2 million people vanish without a trace, their fates suspended in an eternal unknown. But among these countless disappearances, one case would pierce through the statistical fog: the vanishing of Agnes Kavina, a story that would haunt London's nightlife scene for nearly a decade. On a crisp autumn night in 2014, security cameras captured Agnes Kavina's last known movements. Her blonde hair catching the strobing lights of a London nightclub, her laughter echoing through the crowded space. By sunrise, she had become another entry in the missing persons database. But unlike millions of other cases, Agnes's disappearance would resurrect itself 9 years later, shattering every assumption investigators had made. Born under the Baltic summer sky of Riga, Latvia, on July 8, 1984, Agnes emerged into a world of modest means but abundant love. The youngest of 2 sisters, she shared an unshakable bond with Greta, her elder, by just 2 years. Their childhood photos would later become haunting artifacts in a case file, 2 smiling girls, unaware that one would become the center of an international mystery. Agnes blazed through life with an infectious energy that drew people into her orbit. Her striking beauty turned heads, but it was her vibrant personality that captured hearts. She excelled in school, threw herself into sports, and harbored dreams of crafting perfect getaways for others as a tourism professional. Her path seemed destined for success, marked by determination and ambition. At 20, Agnes made the decisive move that would ultimately alter her fate. Leaving the familiar streets of Riga, she set her sights on London's promising horizons. The decision, supported by her close-knit family, seemed like the first chapter of a success story. Instead, it would become the prelude to a mystery. In London, fate introduced her to Michael Mills, a man 8 years her senior, who appeared to be everything she dreamed of. A successful entrepreneur who owned an entertainment complex and movie theater, Michael swept Agnes into a whirlwind romance of exotic travels and expensive gifts. Their relationship blossomed against London's sophisticated backdrop, with Agnes radiating the unmistakable glow of first true love. By 2014, Agnes had secured a prestigious 3-month contract at one of London's premier establishments. Her life seemed perfectly scripted, a beautiful woman in love, building a promising career in a global city. But beneath this gleaming surface, dark currents were stirring, ones that would soon pull Agnes into one of the most baffling disappearances in modern British history. Their relationship seemed perfect on the surface, but those closest to Agnes would later reveal subtle cracks in this polished facade. During police interviews years after her disappearance, friends would recall moments when Michael's charm gave way to possessiveness, though Agnes never openly complained. That fateful summer, while navigating her new professional role, Agnes maintained her vibrant social life. Her bank records would later show regular withdrawals at various nightclubs across London's West End, a detail that would become crucial to the investigation. But it was one particular venue, the Azure Lounge, that would become eternally linked to her story. The night before her disappearance, CCTV footage captured Agnes in an animated phone conversation outside her apartment. Forensic lip readers would later suggest she appeared to say, "I need to tell you something." The recipient of that call remained a mystery for years, another piece in the complex puzzle that would baffle investigators. Friday, September 12, 2014, began like any other day. Agnes arrived at work, her designer handbag, a recent gift from Michael, slung over her shoulder. Security footage showed her cheerfully greeting colleagues, unaware she was being captured in what would become vital evidence. Her final work email, sent at 5:47 p.m., confirmed plans for drinks with friends that evening. The Azure Lounge's cameras picked her up at 9:13 p.m., entering with 3 friends, Sarah Matthews, Diana Cooper, and Christine Berg. They claimed their usual booth, ordered cocktails, and settled into what should have been just another girls' night out. Agnes was wearing a distinctive black dress with silver sequins, another detail that would feature prominently in missing person posters across London. At 11:42 p.m., security footage showed Agnes receiving a text message. Her expression changed, subtle enough that her friends didn't notice at the time, but clear to investigators reviewing the footage frame by frame years later. She excused herself to use the restroom. The cameras caught her walking towards the back of the club. Her phone illuminated her face as she typed. That was the last confirmed sighting of Agnes Kavina. Initial investigations focused on the obvious: Michael Mills, her friends at the club, the staff working that night. But each lead seemed to dissolve into nothing. Michael had an alibi. Security footage showed him at his movie theater until 2 a.m., dealing with a projector malfunction. Her friends passed polygraph tests. The staff's stories checked out. The case quickly garnered media attention, partly due to Agnes's striking appearance, but also because of the seemingly impossible nature of her disappearance. How could someone vanish from a crowded London nightclub without leaving a trace? No bank activity, no phone signals, no social media presence. Agnes had simply ceased to exist. Michael Mills appeared devastated, offering a substantial reward for information and hiring private investigators. But as weeks turned into months, even he seemed to lose hope. By 2015, Agnes Kavina's case had joined the ranks of London's unsolved mysteries. Then, in 2023, a renovation project at an abandoned warehouse 3 miles from the Azure Lounge would unearth evidence that would blow the case wide open. But the truth would prove far stranger than anyone had imagined. 9 years of silence had dulled the public's memory of Agnes Kavina, but Detective Inspector Rachel Morton had never forgotten. The case file, thick with dead ends and false leads, stayed on her desk even as higher-profile cases came and went. What haunted her most wasn't just Agnes's disappearance, but the strange patterns that emerged in the weeks before it. Construction workers at the Blackfriars warehouse complex made the discovery on a rainy Tuesday morning in March 2023. While demolishing a section of flooring, they uncovered a hidden compartment. Inside, wrapped in plastic, lay Agnes's phone, preserved like a time capsule from 2014. The discovery sent shockwaves through the cold case unit. Forensic analysis of the phone revealed something extraordinary. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Agnes had been exchanging encrypted messages with someone using the username Watchmaker. The messages, once decoded, painted a disturbing picture. Agnes hadn't been just another missing person. She'd been investigating something. Her personal diary, recovered from the phone's notes app, revealed that while working at the luxury hotel, she'd noticed patterns in the behavior of certain high-profile guests. Large amounts of money are moving through the hotel's private gaming rooms, late-night meetings in the penthouse suites. Agnes had started documenting everything, perhaps not realizing the danger she was putting herself in. Michael Mills's alibi, which had seemed solid in 2014, began to crumble under renewed scrutiny. His movie theater's security footage showed signs of tampering, sophisticated enough to fool 2014's technology, but visible to 2023's enhanced forensic tools. More disturbing still, financial records showed his business had received substantial payments from offshore accounts linked to known criminal enterprises. The investigation revealed that the Azure Lounge wasn't just a nightclub. It was a front for a sophisticated money laundering operation. Agnes, with her keen eye for detail and position at the hotel, had unknowingly stumbled onto a network that stretched from London's banking district to Eastern European crime syndicates. The text message she received that final night wasn't a casual communication. It was a warning. Enhanced audio from the club's security system, processed with new technology, captured a fragment of Agnes's last phone call in the bathroom. "I know what you're doing and I have proof." But perhaps the most chilling discovery came from Agnes's sister Greta. In their last conversation, Agnes had mentioned creating an insurance policy, a detailed dossier of everything she'd uncovered. She'd hidden it somewhere in London, telling Greta she would know where to look if anything happened to her. The race to find this dossier would become crucial as the new investigation unfolded. Local bartenders, interviewed again in 2023, remembered details they'd previously thought insignificant. A black SUV with diplomatic plates had been parked outside the club that night. A man in an expensive suit had been watching Agnes's table. Small details that had seemed unimportant in 2014 now took on sinister significance. As Detective Morton dug deeper, she discovered connections between Agnes's case and 3 other disappearances from the same period, all young professionals who had worked in London's luxury service industry. All had vanished without a trace. All had shown signs of discovering something they weren't supposed to know. The warehouse where Agnes's phone was found belonged to a shell company. That company, investigators discovered, was linked to Michael Mills through a complex web of offshore accounts. But Mills wasn't just a successful businessman, he was a middleman for something much larger and more dangerous. The investigation took a dramatic turn when Detective Morton received an anonymous email containing surveillance photos of Agnes, dated 2015, months after her disappearance. The images showed her in Geneva, Switzerland, being escorted into a private banking facility by men in suits. She appeared thinner, her signature blonde hair now dark brown, but facial recognition software confirmed it was her. She wasn't dead. She was hiding. Further digging revealed a sophisticated witness protection program, but not one run by any official government agency. A shadow network designed to protect whistleblowers who had uncovered something too dangerous to report through official channels. Agnes, it seemed, had been given a choice that night at the Azure Lounge: disappear or die. The watchmaker, from her encrypted messages, was identified as Marcus Weber, a former Swiss banking executive turned whistleblower. He had been helping Agnes document the massive money laundering operation she'd stumbled upon. But Weber himself had vanished in 2016, his body found months later in what was staged to look like a hiking accident in the Alps. Michael Mills's carefully constructed world began to unravel. A raid on his private office revealed a hidden room filled with servers containing encrypted data about financial transactions worth billions. But Mills himself had an ace up his sleeve: evidence implicating several high-ranking police officials in the scheme. The case wasn't just about a missing woman anymore. It was about systemic corruption at the highest levels. Greta, Agnes's sister, finally decoded what her sister meant by the insurance policy. The sisters had spent their childhood summers at their grandmother's house in Riga, where they had a secret hiding place in an old clock, a watchmaker's clock. Agnes had hidden her dossier in a vintage timepiece at London's Horological Society, where it had sat undisturbed for 9 years. The dossier contained everything: names, dates, transaction records, and photographs. Agnes had documented a network that used London's luxury hotels and private clubs to launder money from human trafficking, arms deals, and drug cartels. The operation had tentacles reaching into law enforcement, politics, and international banking. But the most shocking revelation came from Agnes herself. In May 2023, she made contact through an encrypted channel. She was alive but living under a new identity, having spent years gathering additional evidence. Her disappearance hadn't been an escape. It had been the beginning of a deeper investigation. The aftermath of the Agnes Kavina case sent shockwaves through London's financial district and beyond. By early 2024, Operation Timepiece, as the investigation was now coded, had become the largest anti-corruption probe in British history. The vintage clock from the Horological Society, containing Agnes's original evidence, was now secured in an MY5 facility, its contents still being analyzed by international investigators. What made the case particularly haunting was how it exposed the thin veneer between London's glamorous nightlife and its criminal underbelly. The Azure Lounge was just one node in a vast network of seemingly legitimate businesses: luxury hotels, private members' clubs, art galleries, all serving as sophisticated money laundering operations. Detective Morton's team discovered that Agnes hadn't been the first to notice the irregularities. Between 2010 and 2014, 7 other people had vanished after coming too close to the truth. Their cases had been deliberately mishandled, files lost, evidence contaminated. 2 of these individuals were later confirmed to be alive, living under protected identities like Agnes, but the others remained missing. The underground tunnel network, dating back to World War II, yielded more grim discoveries. Hidden rooms contained decades of documentation, ledgers, photographs, blackmail material. One chamber held thousands of luxury items, watches, jewelry, artwork, all used to move illegal money across borders. Each piece told a story of criminal enterprise masked by high society glamour. Michael Mills's death opened another disturbing chapter. His autopsy revealed traces of a sophisticated poison originally developed for intelligence agencies. Prison camera footage from the night of his death mysteriously malfunctioned. The guard on duty disappeared 2 days later, his car found abandoned at Dover Ferry Terminal. In a secure location in Geneva, Agnes finally gave her full statement to a select group of international investigators. She described how, on that September night in 2014, she had been approached in the club's bathroom by a woman claiming to be from an independent anti-corruption unit. The woman had shown Agnes photographs, proof that she was being watched, that her life was in danger. "I had 10 minutes to decide," Agnes's statement read, "disappear completely or become another tragic accident in London's nightlife scene. They already had my new identity prepared. Looking back, they had probably been watching me for weeks, assessing whether I could be trusted to stay quiet or if I needed to be eliminated." The extraction through the club had been meticulously planned. While her friends searched the bathroom, Agnes was already being moved through the tunnel system, given new clothes, different colored contact lenses, and a wig. By sunrise, she was on a private plane to Switzerland, legally dead to the world she knew. But Agnes had turned her exile into a mission. Working with other whistleblowers in the Shadow Witness Protection Network, she had spent 9 years mapping the entire criminal enterprise. Her disappearance, which seemed like the end of her story, had actually been the beginning of a much larger investigation. The cost of her choice became clear in her testimony. She had watched her family mourn her from afar, unable to reach out. She had seen Michael Mills, the man she once loved, revealed as a key player in the criminal network. She had lived nearly a decade looking over her shoulder, trusting no one. By December 2023, the case had triggered arrests in 14 countries. Over £4 billion in assets were frozen. Politicians resigned. Banks faced criminal investigations. The Azure Lounge and similar establishments across London were closed, their elegant facades hiding years of criminal activity. Detective Morton's final report included a chilling detail. The network hadn't been completely dismantled. Some players had slipped away, their identities still unknown. The underground tunnels formed a web beneath London that wasn't fully mapped. More disturbing still, similar networks were suspected to exist in other major cities. Agnes Kavina's current location remains classified. Her sister Greta received a package on her birthday in 2024, a vintage watchmaker's clock, identical to the one from their childhood. Inside was a single message: "Some mysteries need to stay unsolved to keep the truth safe." The case broke wide open when 3 former Azure Lounge employees were found dead in apparent suicides, each leaving identical notes confessing to Agnes's murder. Detective Morton recognized it for what it was: a desperate attempt at misdirection. The real players were getting nervous. Security footage from the night of Agnes's disappearance was reanalyzed using AI enhancement technology. It revealed a series of coordinated movements by club staff and patrons, a carefully choreographed operation designed to escort Agnes out through a network of underground service tunnels. She hadn't vanished. She had been extracted. The investigation revealed that the Azure Lounge sat above a network of forgotten World War II bunkers, converted into secure passageways connecting several high-end establishments in London's West End. This underground network had been crucial for moving not just people, but also documents and money, undetected through the heart of London. As 2023 drew to a close, the case exploded into international headlines. Michael Mills was found dead in his cell, another apparent suicide that raised more questions than answers. Bank executives were arrested across Europe. Political careers ended overnight. But Agnes Kavina remained in the shadows, her current identity known only to a select few investigators. Let me provide a compelling conclusion. that ties all the threads together while adding deeper analysis and societal impact. The Agnes Kavina case fundamentally changed how authorities view disappearances in the luxury service industry. What began as a seemingly straightforward missing persons case exposed a dark ecosystem where wealth, crime, and power intersect in the world's financial capitals. Statistics tell a chilling story. In the decade before Agnes's disappearance, over 200 people had vanished from London's high-end hospitality sector. Most cases were classified as voluntary disappearances or runaways. After Operation Timepiece, investigators began reviewing these cases, discovering patterns that had been deliberately obscured. The underground tunnel network, dubbed London's Shadow Circuit by the press, dated back to Winston Churchill's bunkers but had been expanded over decades. Architectural historians brought in to study the network found evidence of continuous modifications from the 1950s through 2014, suggesting long-term planning and vast resources. Similar networks have since been discovered in New York, Dubai, and Singapore. The true genius of the operation lay in its visibility. The Azure Lounge and similar establishments never tried to stay hidden. They flaunted their presence, hosting celebrities, politicians, and royalty. Their high-profile status provided the perfect cover. Who would suspect that the most visible night spots in London were hiding an international criminal enterprise? Agnes Kavina's role reshaped how law enforcement views whistleblowers. Her 9 years undercover produced what investigators called the most comprehensive map of modern financial crime ever assembled. The evidence she gathered continues to generate new investigations, with some legal experts predicting aftershocks for decades to come. The Shadow Witness Protection Network that saved Agnes remains active, though its existence is officially denied by all governments. Rumors suggest it has extracted over 300 people who uncovered similar operations worldwide. Each disappearance staged to look like a tragedy or an accident, each person given the same choice Agnes faced: vanish or die. Today, the Azure Lounge building stands empty, its famous blue neon sign dark. Urban explorers occasionally attempt to find the tunnel entrances, though authorities have sealed most access points. The underground network, like much of the case, has passed into London legend. The final irony of the case lies in its impact on missing persons investigations. Agnes's disappearance, staged to hide the truth, ultimately exposed it. Every missing person case in London's financial district now undergoes additional scrutiny. Detectives are trained to look for patterns similar to those Agnes documented. Detective Morton retired after the case closed, but her last official act was to establish the Kavina Protocol, a set of guidelines for identifying potential whistleblowers among missing persons cases. Sometimes, she noted in her final report, the most significant clue is that there are no clues at all. As for Agnes herself, rumors occasionally surface: a blonde woman at a Geneva bank, a dark-haired consultant in Singapore, a redhead in Vancouver's financial district. Each sighting adds to her legend, though those who know the truth understand. The real Agnes Kavina disappeared forever that night in 2014. The woman she became continues her work from the shadows, watching the watchmen, keeping time like the vintage clocks that helped her expose the truth. The case remains a watershed moment in modern criminal investigation, proving that in an age of digital surveillance and instant communication, the most effective way to hide might be in plain sight. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the most incredible stories are the true ones, and that behind every disappearance might lie a truth someone wanted to keep hidden.